Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. We are at another important Sabbath, and also I say Happy New Year to you, because according to the Hanukh calendar, the New Year began on Thursday, 21 March, and today being the 23rd, we are now 2 days into the New Year, so the biblical New Year has started. Baruch Hashem, and may this be a wonderful, blessed, sweet New Year for all of us, for all of my students and myself. Baruch Hashem, may this be a greatly prosperous New Year, and I am believing and saying that 2024 is going to be a tremendously profitable year for my students that are diligent, that are noteworthy to guard the Torah. They will be tremendously blessed. Now, let's talk about the goings on of the world. Presently, we have the war between Ukraine and Russia been going on. Now, the news, this is something that came from the news. I don't know if you heard it in your respective countries. But the news was this, that Russia was about to strike Ukraine with a nuclear strike. Yes. I don't know. I personally didn't hear it in any outlet in the US. But this was what's going to happen. For whatever reason, he thought about the war, he apparently was about to press the button with a nuclear missile to strike Ukraine. And then India's Prime Minister Modi and China Prime Minister Xi Jinping, they found him on an emergency call and told him not to do that, because if he did, it will create a lot of problems worldwide. And he then, according to the source, he then refrained from doing that. Now, it may be because he was pushed to the brink, because NATO and allies on this side, America, UK, and some of the other countries that are supplying, Germany as well, that are supplying weapons, ammunition to Ukraine to fight Russia as a proxy war. So maybe that pushed Russia to the edge. I don't know. Whatever it was, that was the news. So we came pretty close to a nuclear strike in Ukraine. I mean, we've all heard of the nuclear strike that happened in Hiroshima, Nagasaki. And look at the destruction that America did over there many years ago. And even to this day, I mean, that land, there are still problems there. Unfortunately, because of the radiation, people that were subsequently born, there was many people that died instantly. But then there was people that were born, they were born with deformities because of the radiation issues. And the land, I don't know exactly how long the land needs to be, wait before it's cleansed up. But some people say, according to some scientists that I've heard, it can take 1,000 years to clean that land up with the radiation. Again, I'm not an expert in that area, and I'm not sure that is an accurate statement. But however, this is how close we came. Now, the war between Israel and Hamas, that's on your screens, that's still going on. There's still deals being brokered in Qatar between Israel and Hamas, trying to release the hostages and so on and so forth. That's that. Hamas reached out to Pakistan this week, just been, or at least the Prime Minister or representative of Hamas in Israel or Palestine, and they said to Pakistan to threaten Israel with a nuclear strike, because Pakistan has the capability to do that, by the way. And I And they were basically saying that even if you don't do nothing, just threaten them. So they are about to start an initiative of bombardment in Palestinian areas that's going to be far, far more worse than before, like carpet bombing. Carpet bombing is quite a serious act. It can cause a lot of casualties. Already, the people in Palestine say that they have lost over 30,000 people. So, I don't think any statement came from Pakistan against Israel so far. I haven't heard of any statement from the country, because the country is presently dealing with its own domestic issues and other things going on. Plus there's a Ramadan, and people are busy fasting and all that. So that's basically that. And other than that, the other news, I guess, or the other things that are happening, that I want you to understand this. God has made available for us many, many things. It's up to us whether we utilize them or not. I wanted to give you a testimony. In fact, maybe more than one testimony. I have an uncle, or had an uncle. He was somebody that my mother, when we were young kids in England, my mother and my father told me that they helped this uncle when he came to England, UK. They helped him. He fell ill. He had, things kind of coming out of his neck, like some kind of, wound, some kind of boil, carbuncle, and there was a, pus coming out of it. And they took him to the doctor, and the doctor said, separate him, separate his clothes, don't eat with him, don't share your utensils with him, your plates, cups, and all that. Separate them all, because it could be highly infectious. But my father said, no, he's my brother, although he wasn't from the same mother, he was from another father. But my father said, no, he's my brother, and even though he's not from the same father, I still, I won't do that, because what will he think, that we are separating him and all that, and it doesn't look good. We're in the one home. And my mother told me, after those events, of course I wasn't around to witness those events, but she told me that, maybe I was very small. Later my mother told me that, she used to wash the clothes by her hand. They didn't have machines in those days, washing machines. So she used to wash the clothes with her hands and feed him and, wash his cups and plates and everything for him. She really cared for him and looked after him when he was sick. But down the road, I remember I was maybe 13, 14, something like that. And I remember that this same man that my parents helped so much to care for down the road, this man one day had a fight with my parents, and he, said some really nasty words against my mother. And of course, my mother was very upset, crying. Father was very upset. He didn't know what to say to his brother, the kind of words and language he used. And, years later, my mother told me that this man is a two-faced man. We helped him when he was really, really sick. He was dying, and we helped him, and we nursed him, and we, made him well. And yet, this is how he repaid us. I remembered that as a 14-year-old child. I remembered it very well. And I saw the actions of this man, how evil he was in his intentions. And anyway, this man was drinking a lot, apparently, what I was told. He was drinking a lot, and then his kidneys gave up. And then, of course, he was on dialysis down the road. And what happened, he then had to have a kidney to live the rest of his life, because without a kidney donor, he would have died. But then somebody gave him a kidney, or the hospital, they found somebody to donate a kidney to him, and they gave him the kidney, and then he continued his life after the operation with medication. So, but I remember as I was growing up that, one day there was a fight between my auntie and cousin with his wife. And I decided at that time, I'm never going to go to this person's house ever again. But in the back of my head, I still had that this man, what he did to my mother, he didn't do good. He's not a good man. So anyway, time passed on. I stopped going to his house. I never went to his house. Maybe 15, 16, 20 years later, I grew up, and then I guess, either God found me or I found God, whichever way you want to look at it. And, I kind of came. And then one day, I decided that this man has to be punished for his guilt. And, I'm not into this belief that, in the hereafter God will punish. I don't believe in that. I believe the punishment has to be now, right this year. So I wrote something down. Little judgment, as you can say, and I left it at that. I said that he will be punished, and he will be punished in my lifetime and very soon. And he will be punished for the words he spoke against my mother. And I didn't take issue with him because of my father. I took issue with him because he disrespected my mother, because of a woman. My mother was such a respectful woman, such a pure soul, that she wouldn't speak against anybody. And even if somebody spoke against her, she wouldn't say nothing back to that person. It wasn't a tit-for-tat slang match. And so what happened, I knew my mother wasn't going to do that. And later down the road, my mother died, from illness. And when I grew up, I remembered that what he had done. And I always remembered in the back of my head. And I knew that one day I'm going to deliver the punishment to you. And it's going to be, Mida keneged Mida. Measure for measure. What you have done, you will be punished. And then one day, when I wrote that down, and I completely forgot about it, then I went to visit a relative recently, and they told me, I hadn't heard about him because I never met him, and I didn't know what his family was up to. And then my relative told me, a cousin told me, I said, so-and-so person, I stopped going to his house many years ago because of, the things he did with my parents and mother especially, and I refused to respect a man like that, and I didn't go to his house after that. And I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he's alive or dead, I don't know. And she told me, she said, he died. I said, when did he die? She said he died about 4 or 5 years ago. And I said, what was the cause of the death? She said the cause of the death was tongue cancer. Have you ever heard of tongue cancer? I have never heard of a person in UK getting tongue cancer. I've never heard of it. So this was surprise, but not so surprise. Guess why he got tongue cancer? Because didn't he use the same tongue to slander and disrespect my mother? So that same tongue God used against him to take his life. Isn't that an ironic thing? So, point that I'm trying to make over here is, there was a time that I didn't do nothing against anybody, and people would slander me or say bad things against me in the net, and I said, okay, forget about it. These are stupid people. They don't know what they're talking about, and I wouldn't do nothing. But then time changed. And I went to the U.S. and then I decided, I said, that's it. Boom. Now, the Kohen is going to be the Kohen, and anybody who disrespects me, and anybody who goes out of the way and does things that are evil, I will deal with it right now. And then I started to do the active judgment part, because God has made us judges. We were at one time kings. Yeah, Judah was king, but so were we. The Kohanim were kings as well. They were not just priests. We had kings in there as well. Remember the Maccabees, when they became kings. They ruled Israel for the Maccabees era, they ruled Israel for more than 200 years as kings. So I decided that, you know what, no, enough is enough. There is power. God has given me authority and God has given me power. And the time has come to use that power, but not for evil, but for good. There are evil people in this earth. Some of them have to leave. And there are people who are in power that have to go. And there are people that are not in power, they have to come into power, in government. So that is when I became active. In 2014 and 15, I started delving very deep into the Hebrew language, Arabic language, Aramaic language. Remember the time I started to translate the Hidden Truths Hebraic Scrolls. And I translated it, and it was back in 2008 actually. That project started around 2000, I would say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, around 2007 and 2008. And I actively started to get very deep into these ancient languages. And that is when I discovered the power that was in the language and within me. So I discovered the power within me by just experimenting with a few things. And I learned that there is a lot of power in some of the words, some of the things that we do. So then I actively started to write down judgments for people I felt needed to be dealt with. And they were dealt with, by the way. They're no longer here. They're gone. Finished. Because in my book, forgiveness doesn't mean forgiveness. Forgiveness means bye-bye from this earth. That's what forgiveness means. You cannot be here. You are not allowed to live. You're not allowed to stand. You're not allowed to curse God. And you're not allowed to defame God's name. That's what forgiveness means to me, that you have to be punished. And your punishment means that I make an appointment for you with God, and God deals with you when you go and meet Him. That's what forgiveness means to me now. So, that's where I stand. And so much power, that you'll be shocked at the kind of power that I can unleash if I want to. Power to shape countries, power to shape the world, power to shape individuals. Power to help, power to prosper, and power to bring down so-called principalities and powers that are evil in this world. That's the kind of power I'm talking about. So, that was my testimony, and I've only given you one testimony. There are many others. Again, there will be many things that will remain secret and private, because there are things that take place and I cannot divulge that information because of privacy, because of public, because this audio is going out to public, and that's not information for public consumption. Maybe my children will tell you about it when they take my seat. But this is something that has to remain strictly private, because we are dealing with principalities, magic, black magic. We're dealing with evil forces, and they have to be dealt with a strong hand. A lot of the prophets in the Bible, they were dealing with evil kings, and I'm surprised there were times that God told them to speak judgments against those kings. Many times God did speak judgments through those prophets, and those prophets were to do certain things to bring judgment on those kings, and they did. And those kings were brought down, either removed from power or removed from authority and replaced. So the prophets were always active in that arena, although the Bible does not highlight that. But actually that was one facet of what priests, Kohanim, and Navim, the prophets, do. And a lot of the prophets were priests. They were Kohanim, such as Ezekiel. He was a priest. Prophet Jeremiah, he was a priest. Isaiah was a priest. Then you look at the prophet Elisha was a priest. These are all from the tribe of Levi. And so was Prophet Samuel. These are all priests and they are prophets. So they had the power and the authority, and they used it when God directed them to use their power and authority. Similarly, as being a Kohen and a son of a Kohen, talking about Aaron, I also have that authority and the power to do so. Whatever that are my judgments are made through the Torah, meaning is Midah Keneged Midah. It is measure for measure. It will be paid measure for measure. No longer silence will be met. It will be the other sword of fire that will come out from this side now. So that's basically that. Now I want to give you something that can help you. And sure, we talk about scriptures, and New Year has started, and we technically, because of the New Year, we have come to let me just see. We would come to the point of, according to our calendar, let me see if I can pull it up. If I can find it in here, in my folder, documents, tons and tons and tons of documents, and here is a calendar. So according to the calendar, we are now in our new year, since 2 days ago. Our Parsha, our Torah reading is Beresheth, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, 6 to 8. Interestingly, isn't it? And if we go to the book of Genesis, and if you give me a second, I shall open the book of Genesis. And let me open the relevant chapter. And we are in verse 1. Beresheth bara Elohim alif tav hashamayim va'et ha'eretz. In the beginning, Elohim powers created the Shamayim and the land. The land was desolate and chaotic, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Ruach of Elohim powers was fluttering over the face of the Mayim. And Elohim power said, "Light be," and light was. And Elohim power saw the light that it was good, and Elohim power separated the light from the darkness. And it goes on, and Elohim power said, "Expanse be in the middle of the Mayim," in the middle of the water, and divide the Mayim waters from the Mayim waters. Thus Elohim powers brought about the expanse and divided the Mayim waters which were under the expanse from the Mayim waters which were above the expanse, and it was done. Basically meaning that God, when He created the universe, He had water above us and water below us. We have water in the earth and we have water above us in the sky. Isn't that amazing? And guess where it all started from? Guess where the power is? In the first verse of the Bible. Beresheth bara Elohim alif tav hashamayim va'et ha'eretz. That's where the power is. Where God created. You all of you are also co-creators. You're co-creators with God. You're able to create and shape your life. Now, I know that a lot of people, they have difficulty grasping that. What does that mean? We're talking about manifestations, law, desire, bringing things to pass. You have that ability. What happens is that a lot of the time we lose sight of that. And we think that things have to drop from the sky, or some miracle has to happen for us for that to occur. But no, we are the miracle makers. We are the miracle creators. There was a man, or there is a man, I heard his clip, is an Indian guy, and he was saying this in a little lecture that I heard. A student sent it to me and I heard it, and he said, from the childhood, from a small child, we are born geniuses. But from a small child to our adulthood, our parents tell us no so many times, and he calculates it. This is according to Google. They tell us no like 100,000 times. Between that time to our adulthood, we heard the word no for something we wanted to do or have 100,000 times. He said it becomes an affirmation, and it becomes self-destructive to us. That even when we grow up as an adult, we want to do something, and we continue to hear that word no, and we can't do it because that negative environment or the negative conditioning from our parents has affected us so much that we now, the geniuses that we were born, we're no longer those geniuses. We've lost it along the way. And now we have to, reprogram ourselves, clean ourselves to get back to being that geniuses we were born. So it's entirely true. It's entirely true. Whatever kind of parents you have, the type of parents you have, if they were parents that constantly knock you down, then that affected you as a child, and you carried it as an adult, and you might think, yeah, but my mother's dead and my father died, and they used to tell me we don't have enough money, or they used to tell me that you can't buy this or you can't have this. But those are the things that conditioned you to be the person you are today. If you have anxiety today, if you have pressure today, if you have things going on in your life, blood pressure and other things, is because of what your parents fed you. If they fed you manna, sweetness of heaven, which I hardly doubt, many parents didn't do that, then they fed you the devil's food. And what's the devil's food? Always saying no, always telling you no, it's not enough, always saying that we don't have enough, and always telling you there is lack. That lack mentality you were brought up with, and that you carry it to this day. And you struggle now because deep inside you might think, well, where is that block, that resistance? Well, that block and that resistance, you know where it is? It's in your body. It's in your muscles. It's in your cells. It's in there. So how do we clean it out? Yep, that's a good question. How do we clean it out? That's what we need to do. We need to clean that mess up. We need to become the geniuses that God produced us, that we were born. And the way you clean it up is the first thing I gave you. Remember what I told you. You must have a cold shower every day. I don't care if you don't like it. I don't care if it feels cold. I don't care if it's, hard. I don't care, nothing. I want you to do it because that's how you're going to clean up. You're going to reset your system. And then you're going to reprogram it with positive things. You write out your affirmations, whatever they are, and when you've done your little shower and you go through the exercises I told you to go through, that I gave you, I want you to go through those exercises. The grounding, the things that you did in the past that you're proud of. Then the 3 things, or maybe even more, 3 or more things that you want to create in your life. You visualize them, that they have happened. And you do that every day. Listen. It's evening time, right? Where I am. It's evening time. And guess what? Maybe an hour ago, I had a cold shower. That was my second cold shower of the day. I had it in the morning, I have it in the evening, twice a day. Now, it's really, really helped me to keep focus my attention on what I need to do. And it will really help you. But remember, you need to program yourself. You can't just have a cold shower and expect things to just change. No, you got to program yourself. Your affirmations that you have written, if they're on a piece of card, or if they're on a piece of paper, or your laptop, or your tablet, or your phone, read them. Read those. And one of the things that I continue to instill in you is to go to the passage of Deuteronomy 28. And you don't need to change it. You can make it personal. And you don't need to. You can just read it as is. But only read the blessings. Because they are for you. And they are in the present tense. Not in the past tense. And you can read them in the third person pronoun. And that's okay. You can read them as God has written them in the you. In the you format. And that's absolutely no problem with that. You can. And I encourage you to do that. And I've encouraged you because that is going to change and shape your life. It's going to make you the genius that you were. That, when your parents didn't feed you the right things, they made you into a nervous person or some other type of person. But now that time has come for you to reprogram. And it says, and it shall come to pass, if you shall listen carefully to the voice of Yahoshua your power, to guard and to do all his commandments, which I command you this day, that Yahoshua your power will elevate you high above all nations of the world. You should need to ask yourself that question. And you need to ask God that question. If you are not elevated, why aren't you elevated? And you need to remind God with Abraham's covenant. A reminder to God. When you pray, you remind God that God or Lord, however you talk to God, or Father or Abba, however you speak to God, doesn't matter what words you use. I don't care, you use Daddy, you use Abba, you use Father, you use Lord. It's all okay. And you say, Master or Lord, you promised my father Abraham that you will bless him and he will be a blessing to the nations. You told Moses the prophet that I will be elevated high above all nations of the world. I will be the head and not the tail. I will be a lender and not a borrower. So why am I borrowing money? Why am I not a lender? Why am I not elevated? Why am I down in the nations and not elevated? So you need to keep your promises. God, you need to keep your promises. You promise me, so it shall be. You do not lie, I know that. You don't lie, you tell the truth. So, now, I am going to be elevated. I am elevated. I am the head, not the tail. I am a lender and not a borrower. I am blessed when I go into the city, and I'm blessed when I come into the field. I am blessed in the fruit of my body, and the fruit of my ground, and the fruit of my cattle, the calves of my herds, and the flocks of my sheep. Blessed shall I be in my basket, and blessed shall I be when I go in and when I come out. That's what you need to do every day. This is not a one-off exercise. You need to do this every day. You need to remind God every day. And listen, God's not going to get fed up with you. God, what will happen? God will get tired of listening to you, saying this every day, asking the same question. He will get tired, and he will say, you know what? So it shall be. You said it, it shall be. You're going to get it. This is why I say don't ever use negative words. Don't ever use words that are negative towards you or towards your family, because they can come to pass as well. You're creating because you have that ability and the power that's given to you by God. So similarly, bless yourself every day. Tell yourself, I'm blessed. I'm highly favored. Tell yourself that every day. I'm enough. I am a blessed being. I'm highly favored. You need to tell yourself. Your neighbor's not going to come and tell you. Your other people, your cousins are not going to come and tell you that you're blessed. You have to tell yourself. Take responsibility and start doing that from today. And remember, Deuteronomy 28, that chapter is for you as a blessing. And you need to speak it every day. and it shall come to pass. It shall be. When you speak it, it shall go forth, and you will be blessed. I can tell you a lot more. I can give you a lot more. Maybe I will give you something in this lecture. Maybe I will give you something to help you. There is a story. And the story goes like this. There was a rabbi. We're talking about our present time story. And he was poor. And he used the word Gimel. And he just used to chant the mantra Gimel, 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 Gimel. And he, over time, he didn't specify how long it took, but gradually he became a rich man. So let me give you a mantra today, publicly, that will help you. I want you to do this mantra, this word, every day on your beads. If you don't have beads, you can use your fingers to count, but I encourage you to get these beads. They're so cheap, you can buy them from Amazon, Shopify, wherever, maybe $2 or $3. Alibaba, AliExpress, all these sites sell them. They're about a couple of dollars, $2, $3. There's the Temu site, TEMU.com. They sell it for maybe $2, $3. The beads for 108 beads, just simple beads. I'm not asking you to buy any particular color. Color doesn't matter. I want you to get these beads to use, and you're going to say the word. Now it's going to bring power and wealth into your life. And the word is what? The word is Gamal. Gamal. So you're going to say Gamal, 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 Gamal. That's the word. I want to give you another testimony of another word that I used for my wife. My wife was sleeping one day, and 5 o'clock in the morning, I must have gone to bed late as well, because I often go to bed very late. Like I went to bed at maybe 4 o'clock that day, and my wife kind of nudged me and said that I've got stomach pain. And what was the word you told me? I said, I told you the word Ashvina. And she said, okay. I said, continue to say it. It will heal you. So she started to say that word Ashvina with her stomach pain that she was having. And it doesn't have to be stomach pain. It could be anything. And then she fell asleep after a while. And I didn't hear from her, and woke up in the morning, and I said, how's your stomach pain? And she said, I was even thanking you in my dreams. I fell asleep, my pain went away, and I was even thanking you in my dream for you to tell me that word. And then there was another testimony from another person in America. They said that they had some pains, in their body, maybe in the arms, shoulders, and they started to do that word, and the pains went away. And then they said they had like a sore throat coming on, and they started to say the word again, and then the sore throat stopped right there. It didn't develop into further symptoms. Powerful words. Now remember, some of these words that I give you, they may have other meanings, and we're not interested in the meaning. They may be in certain Indian culture, maybe some other culture, Arab culture, maybe some other country. I don't know, Spanish culture maybe, Mexican culture. Maybe similar words exist and they have different kinds of meanings, but ignore that. Stick to what I'm telling you. Stick to that word. It will bring immense power. And if let me tell you a secret. A secret. Well, maybe I will hold that secret for another session. But the secret today that I've given you is the word Gamal. I want you to chant it 300 times. 300 times. Very easy. Gamal is a very short word. 300 times, basically three set of beads. On your beads, run it three rounds. And that will take you no more than maybe 10 minutes. and it'll be done. But do it. Either if you're free in the evening, do it then, or if you have time in the morning, do it then. Whatever time you can find, do it. This word will help you to change your life. Now, there's other words that I know of in other, and they, like I said, they may be, they may come from an Arabic, or Hebraic source, or Agadic source. These are ancient words. They're very, very powerful. Sometimes I wonder if I should be teaching you these things, because for many years I didn't teach these things, but I think time has come for me to start teaching them more, because they are helping people, and they will help you to develop you into the person, into the man and the woman that you want to be. So, with that, I'm going to say, this is enough for today. Look after yourselves. I'll say Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom to you.